All right, so today we're going on a deep dive into a prehistoric world, a world filled with giants.
Ooh, sounds exciting.
It is. We're heading to South America, way back to the Cretaceous period,
Oh, okay.
to explore some massive predators, some that were even bigger than T-Rex.
Wow, bigger than T-Rex.
In some cases, yes.
Okay.
We're talking about the Giganotosaurus.
The Giganotosaurus.
Yes, a group of dinosaurs that, well, they really pushed the limits of what we think of as an apex predator.
Really push the limits, huh? So what makes these Giganotosaurus so special?
Well, for starters, they're part of the Cretaceous family.
Cretaceous.
Yeah, they're often nicknamed shark-toothed lizards because of their teeth.
Okay, so their teeth are special. How so?
They're super sharp, like blades. Perfect for slicing through flesh, perfect for taking down large prey.
I see. So we're talking about giant razor-toothed carnivores.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's no wonder they were at the top of the food chain.
It sounds like it. So how are we going to learn about these creatures today? What sources are we using?
We're going to be looking at descriptions of fossil discoveries and some recent research on 3 specific members of this group: Mapasaurus, Tyrannotitan, and of course the famous Giganotosaurus.
Ah, Giganotosaurus, the one that's always compared to T-Rex.
Exactly, but we'll get to him later.
Okay.
Let's start with Mapasaurus.
Okay.
What makes this giant stand out to you?
Well, the most fascinating thing about Mapasaurus is that we have evidence suggesting they might have lived and hunted in packs.
Really, packs?
Yeah, there's this bone bed in Argentina. It contains hundreds of fossil fragments from at least 7 different individuals.
Whoa, hold on. So we're talking about a pack of, like, bus-sized predators?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow, that's incredible. But you said fragments. How do scientists even begin to reconstruct a dinosaur from, bits and pieces?
Well, it's a challenge for sure, but let's take specimen number 179 as an example.
Okay.
It's a partial jawbone, just one of the most complete pieces that we have. By carefully measuring and comparing it to other jaw fragments, like, say, specimens 145 and 185, scientists can estimate the overall size of the skull.
I see.
And from there, the size of the entire dinosaur.
So like putting together a giant 3D puzzle.
Exactly.
Okay, so based on those fragments, how big was Mapasaurus?
Well, imagine a creature that could stretch almost 14 meters long and weigh over 12 tons.
14 meters.
Yeah, that's longer than a city bus.
And 12 tons.
Heavier than 2 African elephants combined.
Okay, I'm starting to get why we're calling them giants.
No.
But what did something that big even eat?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. Mapasaurus lived alongside one of the largest dinosaurs ever discovered, Argentinosaurus.
Argentinosaurus.
Yeah, it was a sauropod.
Okay.
Imagine a creature that could reach over 35 meters long and weigh over 70 tons.
35 meters?
Yeah, think of like a 6-story building on legs.
Wow, that's just mind-blowing. So are we saying that Mapasaurus might have hunted these gigantic sauropods?
Well, it's certainly a possibility. You see, some scientists believe that Mapasaurus's potential pack behavior might have allowed them to take down even these colossal herbivores.
A pack of giant predators bringing down a creature that size.
It's hard to imagine, right?
Yeah, but they didn't always go for such enormous prey, did they? I mean, did they have a more diverse diet?
That's a great question, and it's something paleontologists are still trying to figure out. It's likely that they preyed on smaller dinosaurs, too, like the Mapasaurus and Chibouchiosaurus.
Smaller, meaning?
Well, still large, but not Argentinosaurus large.
So a mix of opportunistic hunting and targeting more, let's say, manageable prey.
Exactly.
It makes sense, even for a giant predator to, pick their battles.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to another member of this impressive family, Tyrannotitan.
Ah, yes, Tyrannotitan.
I mean, even the name sounds pretty intimidating, don't you think?
It does. Tyrannotitan chubatensis is the oldest known member of the Giganotosaurus. It dates back to around 118 million years ago.
Wow, it's a long time ago. And it's often considered the smallest of the 3, but I mean, I imagine it was still pretty big.
Oh, absolutely. We have 2 main specimens, 1156 and 1157.
Okay.
And based on those, scientists estimate that Tyrannotitan might have reached around 11 meters in length.
11 meters, okay.
And weighed around 6 tons.
Okay, still enormous.
Oh, yes. And it's also interesting to note that Tyrannotitan had a very robust built.
Robust. What does that mean in terms of its physical characteristics?
Well, it had incredibly thick bones and powerful musculature. This gave it a much stockier appearance compared to the more slender Mapasaurus.
So more muscular.
Exactly.
The,
Its nickname is actually the second fat one.
the second fat one.
It's a funny reference to another thick-boned dinosaur, Tyrannosaurus, or the fat one.
Oh, I see. Okay, the second fat one, I love it. It definitely paints a picture of like a powerful, heavily built predator. But how did this robust build affect its hunting style? Was it as agile as Mapasaurus?
That's a great question, and honestly, we can only speculate based on the fossil evidence. It's possible that Tyrannotitan's stockier build might have made it less agile than Mapasaurus, but it would have also given it incredible strength and power.
So it was more about brute force over speed and agility.
Maybe. We know that Tyrannotitan lived alongside large sauropods like Patagotitan and Chubutosaurus.
Meaning it needed to be strong to take those down.
Right.
It's incredible to imagine these giants sharing the same ecosystem, each with their own adaptations.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, we've talked about Mapasaurus, the potential pack hunter, and Tyrannotitan, the robust ambush predator. I think it's time to move on to the real celebrity of the Giganotosaurus.
Okay, which one is that?
Giganotosaurus, of course.
Yes, Giganotosaurus.
Giganotosaurus carolini, the southern giant lizard. I mean, a name that truly lives up to its reputation.
It does.
It's the dinosaur that's often portrayed as the ultimate rival to T-Rex, and, well, for good reason.
What do you mean?
It was massive.
Oh, okay.
So let's talk size. Was Giganotosaurus really bigger than T-Rex?
That is the big question.
It is. And how do we even know, given that we're working with, incomplete fossil records?
Well, that's a great question, and it leads us to one of the most debated topics in paleontology.
Ooh.
We have two main skull reconstructions for Giganotosaurus.
Two?
Yeah. One suggests a skull length of 1.8 meters, which would make it longer than any T-Rex skull we found. The other reconstruction is based on a shorter skull, one that measures about 1.53 meters.
Okay, so depending on which reconstruction you go with, Giganotosaurus might have had a longer skull than T-Rex, but did that necessarily mean it was bigger overall?
Well, that's where it gets tricky. While the largest T-Rex specimens that we have right now are bigger than the estimated size of Giganotosaurus, it's important to remember that our understanding of these creatures is constantly evolving, with new fossil discoveries.
Yeah, of course. It's like trying to solve a puzzle where we only have a few pieces. But even with these limitations, we can still figure out some incredible information about Giganotosaurus. So what else sets it apart from its other Giganotosaurine relatives?
Well, one of the most striking features of Giganotosaurus is its skull structure. It had a remarkably wide gape, meaning it could open its mouth incredibly wide.
And that was helpful for?
Attacking large prey.
Ah, I see. So even if it wasn't bigger than T-Rex, its skull structure suggests it was built for taking on massive prey.
Exactly. That wide gape, combined with its sharp teeth, those blade-like teeth we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
would have allowed Giganotosaurus to inflict massive damage.
So it really was a force to be reckoned with.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm starting to get a sense of just how powerful these South American giants really were.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit more about Giganotosaurus and its life. Did it live and hunt like Mapasaurus, potentially in packs, or was it more of a solitary predator?
Well, that's another good question. You see, unlike Mapasaurus, where we have that bone bed suggesting group behavior, Giganotosaurus fossils have been found individually.
Individually.
Yeah, so this might suggest that it was a lone wolf, but we really need more fossil evidence to be sure.
It's like every fossil discovery opens up a new chapter in the story of these creatures.
It does.
We're constantly learning new things about them. Okay, so if Giganotosaurus was potentially a solitary hunter, what were its main prey targets? Did it face the same challenges as Mapasaurus with those colossal sauropods?
Well, that's a key difference between Giganotosaurus and Mapasaurus. Remember how Mapasaurus may have had to compete with other predators for those giant sauropods?
Yeah, I remember.
Well, Giganotosaurus didn't really have any rivals.
What? Really?
Yeah, at least none that we know of.
So it really reigned supreme.
It seems that way.
No wonder it's captured our imaginations. It's like the ultimate image of a prehistoric predator.
Yeah.
A giant solitary hunter ruling his territory with unparalleled power.
Exactly. And it's also a reminder that the prehistoric world was a complex and ever-changing place, with different species evolving and adapting in unique ways.
It makes you realize just how much we still have to learn. I mean, we've been focusing on the Giganotosaurine, but their story is just one small chapter in the whole story of dinosaur evolution.
That's right.
And with each new fossil discovery, we have the potential to rewrite what we know.
Absolutely. New discoveries challenge our assumptions and open up new avenues for exploration.
That's what makes paleontology so captivating.
I agree.
Every discovery changes our understanding of the past.
And it inspires new generations of scientists.
Speaking of discoveries, I think it's time we address the T-Rex in the room.
Ah, yes, the T-Rex.
We knew we couldn't avoid this topic forever. It's the ultimate showdown. Giganotosaurus versus T-Rex.
It's a classic.
It is. This is a question that's been debated for years. So if these two giants could somehow meet in a prehistoric arena, who do you think would win?
That's the question, isn't it? It sparks so much speculation, and honestly, there's no easy answer.
I bet. So both Giganotosaurus and T-Rex were apex predators, both incredibly powerful and well adapted to taking down large prey. So it's not just a case of bigger is better.
Not at all. Size is definitely a factor, but we also have to think about things like bite force, agility, their hunting strategies, and even the environment where the fight would take place.
Okay, so let's break it down. What advantages would Giganotosaurus have in this hypothetical showdown?
Well, we've talked about its size, its gape, which would have allowed it to deliver some pretty powerful slashing bites. It was also likely more agile than T-Rex, thanks to its slightly more slender build.
So speed and agility versus raw power.
Right.
What about T-Rex? What were its strengths?
T-Rex had a massive skull, a really strong bite force, potentially the strongest of any land animal that ever lived.
Wow, that's incredible.
It is. It also had binocular vision, which means its eyes faced forward, giving it excellent depth perception.
Okay, those are some serious advantages. So it sounds like we have a real clash of the titans here.
We do.
Is there any way to predict a clear winner?
Well, not really. It's impossible to say for sure. It would depend on so many things: the terrain, the individual animals, their experience, even luck.
So it's a fight that could go either way.
Exactly.
And that's what makes it so fun to imagine.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that the prehistoric world was this dynamic and complex place, full of incredible creatures, endless possibilities.
And while we might never know who would win in a fight between Giganotosaurus and T-Rex, it's that thrill of speculation, that wonder of the unknown that keeps us captivated by these ancient giants.
For sure. Yeah, it's amazing what we can learn from just a few fossilized bones.
It really is. It's like a giant prehistoric detective story, isn't it?
It is.
Speaking of piecing together clues, you mentioned that Giganotosaurus had a wide gape, which would have been helpful for attacking large prey.
Yeah.
But what about its bite force?
Oh, that's interesting.
How did it compare to T-Rex? The one with that legendary bite.
Well, while Giganotosaurus probably didn't have the same bone-crushing bite force as T-Rex, its bite was still really powerful. It's just that its jaws were designed more for slicing and tearing flesh rather than crushing bone.
So more like a giant prehistoric shark than, say, a bone-crunching hyena?
Exactly. And you can actually see this in the skull structure of Giganotosaurus.
How so?
Its skull was long and narrow, with large openings that would have housed powerful jaw muscles.
Oh, I see. So it was all about maximizing those slicing and tearing motions.
Right.
It's amazing how different predators evolve such specialized adaptations for hunting.
It is. But it wasn't just about physical features.
Well,
Behavior played a crucial role, too.
okay. So what can we tell about their behavior from the fossil evidence?
Well, for example, remember that Mapasaurus bone bed
Yeah.
with multiple individuals of different ages?
The one that suggests pack hunting.
Exactly. That suggests some kind of complex social structure.
That's fascinating. What about Giganotosaurus? Any clues about its social behavior?
Well, not really. We haven't found any similar bone beds for Giganotosaurus.
Really?
Yeah, the fossils we have are all of solitary individuals.
So does that mean it was a loner?
Possibly. But again, we need more evidence to say for sure.
It's amazing to think about how social behavior might have shaped the lives of these giant predators.
It is. It makes you wonder if living in packs offered advantages, or if solitary hunters had their own strategies for survival.
Yeah, those are great questions.
They are the kinds of questions that keep paleontologists digging, both literally and figuratively.
For sure. Okay, can we zoom out for a second and talk about the bigger picture?
Sure.
You mentioned that the Giganotosauridae were part of the Cretaceous family.
Yes.
What's the significance of this family in, the grand scheme of dinosaur evolution?
Well, the Cretaceous, remember those shark-toothed lizards?
Yeah.
They were a group of large, predatory theropod dinosaurs that were found all over the world during the Cretaceous period.
So they weren't just in South America.
Yeah. They've been found on multiple continents, including Africa and even North America.
Wow, so they were pretty adaptable then.
Yeah, very much so. Their success is a testament to their evolutionary adaptations.
Meaning?
Their powerful jaws, sharp teeth, and their size. All these features made them formidable predators.
It's amazing to think that these giant predators roamed multiple continents
It is?
and that they played such a key role in the ecosystems of their time.
Yeah. It really gives you a global picture of the reign of the shark-toothed lizards.
It does. And their story reminds us that the history of life on Earth is complex, interconnected,
Very much so.
with species migrating, evolving, and interacting in ways we're only just beginning to understand.
Absolutely.
It makes you realize just how much we still have to learn. We've been focusing on the Giganotosaurus, but their story is just one small chapter in the grand narrative of dinosaur evolution.
Right. And each new discovery has the potential to change everything.
I like that. To challenge our assumptions.
And open up new areas of exploration.
That's what makes paleontology so exciting. Every discovery can change how we understand the past, and it can even inspire new scientists.
I agree.
Okay, speaking of discoveries, I think it's time we talk about, well, the elephant in the room.
Oh, what's that?
Or maybe we should say the T-Rex in the room.
Yes, the T-Rex.
I knew we couldn't avoid this topic for too long.
It's unavoidable.
It is the ultimate showdown, Giganotosaurus versus T-Rex.
A classic.
A classic debate. So, if these two giants could somehow meet in, let's say, a prehistoric arena,
Okay.
who do you think would win?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
It's a question that's been debated by paleontologists and dinosaur enthusiasts for years.
Yeah.
And honestly, there's no easy answer.
Really?
Both Giganotosaurus and T-Rex were at the top of their game, incredibly powerful, adapted for taking down large prey.
So it's not as simple as saying bigger is better.
Not at all. Size matters, but we also have to consider other things like bite force, agility, hunting strategies, and even the environment they'd be fighting in.
Okay, so let's break it down. What advantages would Giganotosaurus bring to this, this hypothetical showdown?
Well, we've already talked about its impressive size, its formidable gape, which would have allowed it to deliver those powerful slashing bites. Plus, it was probably more agile than T-Rex.
Because of its build.
Yes, exactly.
So we have speed and agility on one side and raw power on the other.
Right.
Okay, what about T-Rex? What strengths did it have?
Well, T-Rex had that massive skull and incredibly strong bite force. It's thought to have had the strongest bite of any land animal ever.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And don't forget its binocular vision, which gave it excellent depth perception.
Those are some major advantages.
They are.
So it really does sound like we have a clash of the titans here.
We do?
Is there any way to, to actually predict a winner?
I honestly don't think so. There are just too many factors to consider: the terrain, the individual animals, their experience, even a little bit of luck. It could really go either way.
I agree. And that's what makes it so fascinating to think about.
It really is.
It's a reminder that the prehistoric world was this dynamic, complex place.
Full of incredible creatures.
And endless possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And while we might never know for sure who would win in a fight between Giganotosaurus and T-Rex, it's that, that thrill of not knowing, that wonder that keeps us captivated by these ancient giants.
It certainly does.
Yeah, it's fun to imagine, isn't it? Like, who would have the upper hand?
It is. It's like we're armchair paleontologists, coming up with fight strategies for these prehistoric gladiators.
Exactly. But even without a clear winner, I think it shows just how incredible both Giganotosaurus and T-Rex were as apex predators.
Oh, for sure. They were at the top of their game, each in their own time and place.
Speaking of time and place, we've talked a lot about, the physical adaptations and potential behaviors of these South American giants.
Right.
But what about the world they lived in? What can you tell us about the environment, the ecosystem of the Cretaceous period in South America?
Well, imagine this. During the late Cretaceous, South America was a land of extremes. Yeah. Think vast, lush forests, teeming with life, but also scorching deserts and, dramatic volcanic landscapes.
Wow, so it was a pretty wild and dynamic place.
It was.
What other kinds of creatures lived alongside the Giganotosaurus?
Oh, all sorts. Besides those giant sauropods, there were smaller herbivores, armored dinosaurs, fast-moving predators, and even early mammals.
Early mammals.
Yeah, just scurrying around.
It's incredible to think about this lost world, a world where these giants roamed, and the ecosystem was in this constant dance of predator and prey.
It's amazing, isn't it? And it reminds us that even the most powerful creatures were still part of a larger system, interconnected, interdependent.
And even those giants, eventually they went extinct. What can we learn from their disappearance?
Well, I think it's a powerful reminder that life is fragile, you know, and that changes in the environment can have a huge impact on entire ecosystems.
It makes you think about the challenges we face today
It does.
and the impact we have on the natural world.
Absolutely. Studying the past can give us valuable insights into the present and even the future.
Well, this has been an incredible journey, a real deep dive into the world of the Giganotosaurus. We've explored their anatomy, their behavior, their environment.
Even their place in evolution.
Yeah, it's amazing how much we've covered.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
I know, right? There's always more to learn.
Always.
So for our listeners who want to keep exploring, what resources would you recommend?
Well, there's so many great books, documentaries, even museums dedicated to paleontology. I really encourage everyone to explore these resources, keep asking questions, keep learning, and never lose that sense of wonder.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's been a privilege to go on this journey with you into this prehistoric world.
Likewise.
For our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the land of giants.
Thanks for listening.
Until next time, keep
Wow.
exploring, keep questioning, and never stop learning.